Alright, let's talk about one of the darkest and least understood questions in the human history. Why did Hitler hate Jews so much? I mean, how does someone develop so much hatred that it leads to one of the horrific genocide the world has ever seen? Recently, I read Mein Kampf, the Hitler's book, and I was curious to know what his perception and ideas and views was about Jews, honestly. And as I read through the pages, I was quite flabbergasted. So to understand all of this, we gotta rewind back to the Europe Hitler was born into. Late 19th and early 20th century Europe was already full of racism and anti-Semitism. Newspapers, pamphlets, books, and even politicians openly spread anti-Jewish ideas. Back then, it wasn't shocking to say bad thing about Jews. It was mainstream. So when little Adolf grew up in Austria, he was surrounded by this atmosphere where Jews were often portrayed as different, untrustworthy, or dangerous. Basically, he was inoculated with anti-Semitism from childhood. Now, interestingly, early on, Hitler wasn't as aggressively anti-Jewish as you might think. In fact, according to him in his book, when he saw how Jews were often persecuted throughout history for their faith, he almost softened a bit. He wasn't born with this deep hatred, but when he got older and started diving into politics, that's when things got really toxic. Hitler was a hardcore nationalist. For him, Germany was like a sacred identity, almost like a religion. And anything that he thought threatened Germany, he saw as an enemy. That's where his hatred for Jews got supercharged. Let me explain. Around that time, Jewish people were active in different political movements in Europe. Some of the leading figures in Marxism and social democracy were Jewish. Now, Hitler looked at Marxism, communism, and left-wing politics as something that was tearing Germany apart. He saw it as enslaving people, destroying unity, and making Germany weak. And since a lot of these ideas came from Jewish thinkers like Karl Marx, Hitler connected the dots in his own twisted way. He believed Jews were the masterminds behind all the political chaos. On top of that, he looked at democracy itself and thought it was a joke. In his eyes, parliaments were just filled with fools arguing endlessly and cackling while the nation suffered. He believed Germany needed unity, strength, and one clear direction, not a bunch of politicians playing games. And when he saw Jews being active in these democratic and socialist movements, that fueled his anger even more. But it didn't just stop there. Hitler started to buy into conspiracy theories that Jews were controlling the world. He believed that Jews created a state within a state, like they weren't really loyal to Germany, but were secretly working together to control finance, media, and politics. And if you have ever read his book Mein Kampf, you will see how obsessed he was with this idea. He thought Jews were manipulating everything behind the scenes. And look, conspiracy theories like this weren't just his imagination, they were everywhere. Fake books like the Protocols of the Elders of Zion were circulating in Europe, claiming Jews had a plan to take over the world. A lot of the people believed it. Hitler just absorbed it, amplified it, and made it central to his ideology. Now here's the thing. Some people argue there is a grain of truth in the sense that Jewish communities did influence in certain fields like media, banking, or politics, but Hitler twisted that into something monstrous. Instead of seeing it as individuals succeeding in a system, he made it into a racial conspiracy, as if all Jews were plotting together to destroy Germany. To him, Jews weren't just another religion or a minority group. He painted them as a biological threat, like a parasite weakening the German body. That's why he didn't just want to push them aside politically, he wanted them completely removed. So when you put all this together, childhood exposure to anti-Semitism, political frustration with Marxism and democracy, conspiracy theories about Jewish world domination, and his extreme nationalism, you can see how this hatred grew into something fanatical. And we know where it led. The Holocaust. Millions of innocent people were murdered because one man's obsession turned into government policy. So to wrap this up, why did Hitler hate Jews so much? It wasn't just one reason. It was a mix of the time he lived in, the ideas he consumed, the politics he got involved in, and his extreme nationalism. But if I have to pick one strongest reason, that is racial nationalistic supremacy. His hatred wasn't just personal, it was ideological. He thought Jews were the ultimate threat to Germany's survival, and sadly that belief fueled one of the darkest chapters in the human history.